I think it's very clear that the quote-unquote Davos crowd do not want, as Jean-Claude Juncker famously said, there shall be no democratic decisions against the European treaties. That's another way of saying there will be no democracy in Europe.
Absolutely.
We don't have democracy in Europe. What we have is an unelected oligarchy that exists over top. We have transnational superstructure, legal agreements in terms of these transnational trade deals, which Trump has nixed in every way, in order to create a legal overstructure that obviates all national sovereignty. You've got parliaments that meet that have no power. They have no power in their home countries, and they have no power when they go to the European Union and the European Parliament. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the European Commission and the European Central Bank will issue edicts backed up by the European Court of Justice, and whatever they want is what's going to happen.
Welcome to BetFirst. The better you are, the more you earn. BetFirst makes things interesting by allowing you to make a living just by playing your favorite games. You can make anywhere from 1% to 1,000% return depending on the difficulty of the game.
And that is why I call it the EU SSR. And I look at this and I say, those guys are sitting back at Davos every year going, those Soviets, tourists. They have no idea what they were actually trying to build. They don't know what they don't understand. They were never going to take over the world. This is how you take over the world. This is what we want. And it's very clear. Guys like Soros have let the cat out of the bag. So has Hillary and so have others. Said the United States must be destroyed for this to happen. We have to destroy it from within, politically and culturally. What we're seeing in the United States is a classic Trotskyite style permanent revolution, downstream of Comintern. This is like straight out of the freaking 50s. Red Scare playbook. The sad part is that Joe McCarthy was terrible, but he was also right. Now, go take it over to the EU. The EU is California. If you understand the political dynamic here in the United States, the California being the most dominant economic player in the United States, it's like Germany is the most dominant economic player in Europe. They set the policy for the rest of the country. Every bad idea that ever came out of the United States started in California, and then just migrates east. Gets supported by New York, Southern District of New York, all of that, Washington. We put people in place. They determine what's going to happen. And everything bad has always migrated east, because in order to sell anything in the United States, well, first you're going to be able to sell it in California. And so those regulations and those edicts that come out of California get washed over the rest of the United States. Well, the same thing is happening in Europe. General Data Protection Act requirements, like I'm subject to them here in the United States because Microsoft wants to do business in Europe, right, on my email. Like all of my email links I can't even look at a link in an email anymore to see if it's spoofed. All I can see is EU safe, and then it's text and numbers. Like, this is the kind of thing that they're trying to do. They want to be able to issue edicts and issue rules without democratic interference, and the United States will never be set up that way. The United States has to be destroyed. We have the First Amendment, we have the Second Amendment, we have federalism, we have Florida, for Christ's sake. No, we have sheriffs in Florida, we'll just say no. That's it, we're leaving. But in Europe, they've already got the infrastructure in place.
Okay, so
the reason why the EU keeps expanding and why they don't want Brexit to occur is because the bigger the EU is, the easier it is for them to issue an edict and then force everybody else to adopt that edict because they want to be able to do business with the EU. The fatal flaw is the EU is collapsing.
Yes.
Now, is the EU going to collapse? Is it going to collapse, or is it just going to look like it, go into crisis mode and then emerge like a phoenix with debt neutralization and all the rest of it, which is what they're trying to do right now? That's their plan, right? Where they can then vest all power in an independent ECB that is the sole issuer of currencies. That's the fundamental flaw of the European Union, is the structure of the euro. So
yes.
once they achieve that, and that's what Christine Lagarde was put in place to do. Okay, and that's their plan, and they're running that plan, and COVID-19 is part of that plan, and Merkel's going to torch the rest of Germany, and then she's going to ride this wave, get this stuff done, and by the time she leaves office next fall, CDU will be polling at 20% again. Mark my words, and AFD will be rising again. But this political honeymoon, she's going to ram this stuff down their throats this year.
I agree with that. Can I just say, one of the most astonishing and depressing things that has happened this year is how Merkel, who seemed to be absolutely falling fast, she's been able to ride the pandemic phase and revive herself. And the very first thing she did when she began...